Hey, what's going on, Vikings fans? SkolSide back again with another video. SkolSide cast, it's making its return. We decided to switch it up. We're going to be doing like 10 to 12-minute videos just talking about really big off-season decisions for the Minnesota Vikings. And they have a lot of holes to fill. They got a lot going on in this offseason, so it's going to be fun to talk about. Anyways, we're going to do some reflecting to start off. Got Mike and Jim here with me. We're going to be doing the biggest takeaway you guys have had from the 2020 season. I think there's a lot to take away from this miserable 7-9 season. Mike and Jim, if you guys want to say what's up, and then Mike, you go ahead.
SkolSide, how's everyone doing? It's a rough year for our Vikings, but excited to talk some off-season stuff here and hopefully move on to the future and have some success here, maybe under good old Mike Zimmer.
Wow, so believable. Mike Zimmer and success.
Yeah.
Yeah, very tough season, but it's going to be good to talk. A lot of holes to fill, so there's going to be a lot of things to talk about this offseason. So, and we got the 14th pick in the draft, so that should be all fun.
Yep, legends are taken at 14. Legends. All right, Mike. Mike, biggest takeaway from the 2020 season. What you got?
Biggest takeaway, probably the conservative nature of the offense is my biggest takeaway. Just how often the Vikings ran this year. Just being obsessed with establishing the run. But I mean, I think I read a stat. The Vikings had the 8th most rush attempts this year, and then the 27th in pass attempts. So there's just no balance there, and just completely against how to win in the NFL these days. I don't, like I said, nothing against running the ball, but you get in that red zone, you have to throw when you have receivers like Jefferson and Thielen. I think I read that their PFF rankings, one-on-one coverage, they're ranked in the top I think 10. I mean, that's just a sign right there. You got to throw the ball. Jefferson's open a lot, and it's frustrating. And you got these guys, and the Vikings could be such an explosive offense because they got weapons, all across the board, and it's frustrating to see because Jefferson, he had 1,400 yards receiving this year, but he was 18th in targets. So I mean that's not enough. He's got to be in the top 10 targets. He should be in 10+ targets a game. Him and Thielen, both. That's why they got to scheme more plays for those two guys, I think. And I don't know if it's ever going to happen under Zimmer. He's just so stubborn. He wants to run the ball. But yeah, I mean, another thing I'll say before I stop is, Stephon Diggs this year, he was number 1 in the NFL in receiving. He had last year with the Vikings, I heard this on another podcast, 94 targets, okay, which is that's low.
Yeah.
Again, with the Bills here, he had 166. Just think about that. So we all talk about how, Diggs, some of it's selfish, he wanted, but honestly, he's right. I mean, he should be getting the ball more. So I'll leave it at that. But yeah, conservative nature of the offense is my biggest takeaway this year.
Yeah, Mike, before Jim, 2 stats actually that goes with him. The Vikings, first off, Jefferson had the most yards per target this year. And then also that one-on-one, the PFF thing, the top 3 receivers in that, 1's Devontae Adams, 2's Jefferson, 3's Thielen. So, you're exactly right with that.
Yeah.
Jim?
They get separation.
Jim, take it away. Go ripping the Zimmer for
Well, only stat I know about Stephon Diggs last year, he didn't even get 10 targets in 2 playoff games. You believe, that's insane.
I promise you he will have 10+ targets this Saturday. I 100%.
Saturday, yeah.
Yep.
My biggest takeaway was, obviously, the biggest one is what Mike said. But defensively, obviously, they're awful. And we knew kind of going into the year they weren't going to be very good. Because, last year they weren't very good either. But, they at least didn't give up. They gave up 30 points a game.
Yeah.
This year, I mean, the lack of development that we've seen from some of these players is very, very concerning. One thing that I looked at today is the Vikings. They have a pretty top-heavy roster in terms of their contracts. They've paid. They've paid almost every guy they wanted to. So with that, you're going to have to draft pretty well, and these guys are going to have to develop. And what we saw from Jaleel Johnson, from put Shamar Stephen in there.
Yeah.
I know, but he's been with the Vikings for 4 or 5 years, besides 1 year. You know, Mike Hughes, unfortunately, hasn't been able to play because of injury. Jalen Holmes was a 4th-round pick in 2018. All these guys literally gave you nothing. I mean, nothing.
Yeah.
Like, Jaleel Johnson was, I watched tape from that Bears game. It was so embarrassing, that second Bears game, watching him get run over by Bears offensive linemen who aren't very good.
Yeah.
You know, and like Eric Wilson, you know, he had a pretty nice year in terms of, you know, he made some big plays, got a couple big turnovers. But watching him against the run is not very good. He's been here for 3 or 4 years. So that's my biggest takeaway, is there's just been a lack of development, which is really key because, look, next year, there are probably going to be injuries next year. And,
Yeah.
you know, it's not like that was the first time Eric Kendricks has missed a game. You know, he missed 5, unfortunately, but he's missed games before. Like, Anthony Barr's been hurt before. You know, obviously, Daniil Hunter is the biggest one. I mean, he's never missed a game, but to literally have no one who can rush the passer, and that Yannick Ngakoue was the leader in sacks after playing just 6 games. You know, that's pretty bad. And, you know, that it's like, look, you know, Zimmer, we give him a lot of pain. I know the guy knows how to coach defense, but that really reflects poorly on him. You know, he steers a lot of those defensive personnel decisions, and he went into the year saying that these guys are going to be good enough because they did expect to win games this year, and didn't happen. So that reflects badly on him. But we'll see going forward. I mean, look at the holes on defense. I know we'll talk about it another time, but wow, there are a lot of them. And just because Michael Pierce and Daniil Hunter are coming back, that's 2 guys on the defensive line.
Yep.
So there's a lot of holes to fill.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, especially what you said. Like, they expected to win, even when they were 1-5. I mean, they had a chance to trade guys away. It's not like they didn't. I mean, they definitely thought they could win with them. I mean, Kendrick's going down obviously changes it, but yeah, I mean, agree with both of you. My biggest takeaway, kind of with what Jim said, and honestly, both of you guys, is the trenches. I think on both sides of the ball, I think this was a soft football team this year. It's kind of, I mean, we joke about it, the Garden Gnome thing, where like it looks like our linemen are like just really under, and they look like high schoolers out there. I mean, listen, I know. Actually, no, I'm not gonna make a mistake. Matvia or whatever his name is, 51. Listen, he legitimately looks like a high schooler. Troy Dye, I know he's a rookie, but like, and I know he's not in the trenches, but the dude looks like a long snapper. He's got long arm sleeves. He's skinny, and he doesn't wear gloves as a linebacker. It's like the most wild thing. I mean, listen, I just think you go draft. I think you go into the draft. Yes, you do have Daniil Hunter and Michael Pierce coming back, but that doesn't mean your D-line is going to be fine. If you could even add a first-rounder with that, then you could actually just completely flip the script on the D-line and have that be one of your strengths. O-line, listen, I'm with you, Mike. They need to change it up on running the ball. But if you are going to run the ball, how about you have a good offensive line first? You have an immobile quarterback. You know that. Everybody knows Cousins' flaws. Everybody knows his strengths. You don't work. I mean, it's almost like the Vikings are like, oh, okay, he's not that mobile, so we're going to ignore interior offensive line. Yeah, that makes sense. No, you go draft interior offensive linemen, play to his strengths, just like we see every other team in the NFL do. Just like with the Ravens, with Lamar Jackson. They have tons of tight ends, tons of fullbacks, tons of running backs that fit towards the way he wants to play. You got to get stronger in the trenches. That was my biggest take. I mean, it was just a soft football team. Kind of reflection on the head coach, too, when your team is soft and you're getting the ball ran down your throat over and over again. That was my biggest takeaway. This is the first SkolSide cast. We're trying to get like an undisputed first take type of feel to it. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Leave a like on the video, comment down below, and subscribe if you guys are new. Skol Vikes. See you guys next time.